Hi everybody, it is Frankenbelly, aka Misty. I'm making my vlog today on gastric bypass reversal and takedowns. The reason why I'm making this video is a lot of you that follow me know that I have a support group, and a lot of people reach out to me really frequently with a lot of questions. So I thought maybe answering this from my point of view might help some people. So these are just some frequent questions that I get asked a lot by people, and some of the stuff that's on the internet that's not true and some that is true. So I thought it'd be a good way to start the new year. So gastric bypass, reversal or takedown. Okay, some people that are older generation like to argue over this, but they are the same things. A reversal or a takedown is the same thing. They take, you've had gastric bypass, and for some reason you need a reverse. And so they take your pouch and they take your remnant stomach that's sitting off to the side because you've had gastric bypass, not the sleeve, so don't get that confused. And they take the remnant stomach and they open it back up, and they open the bottom of the pouch and they stitch it back together. Then they also take the intestines that you had rerouted and they simply put them back. Sometimes they do have to cut the intestine down a little bit because of the damage to the intestine from it being cut and moved. But basically, they use the same word, but a reversal is reversing gastric bypass. That's why it's called a reversal. A takedown is the same thing. They take it down, they put it back. So when you're out there trying to search these two things, you're going to see that you're not going to find much information online. And if you do find some information, it tends to be a little bit scary for people. So the reasons why a reversal are done are several different reasons. It's going to be because of complications. No bariatric doctor is just going to go in there because somebody has had surgery and they regret the surgery. They don't like the way they have to eat now or the tool that they have to use, and they want it reversed. That's not why they do reverses and takedowns. For me, my complications was severe dumping after I ate. I had severe anemia. I had reactive hypoglycemia. I had bad B1s, bad B12s. So there was a whole list of it. I had several hernias, repairs, bowel obstruction, 2 of those. So you're going to be pretty sick in order to get a reverse or a takedown. A lot of people also get them because of ulcers. Ulcers is another thing that can happen after gastric bypass, and people will struggle with a bleeding ulcer, so they will try to put the atomy back together. Are they any more dangerous? I hear this a lot. People will come and they'll say, I don't want to have a gastric bypass because I'm scared it's so much more dangerous. It's not. It's really not. If you research it and you talk with the doctors, like my bariatric, he's a head bariatric that's been doing the surgery for 40 years out in California. It may seem more dangerous to people because they think it entails, but like he said, they're basically doing the same thing you had done the first time. They're just putting it back together. So yes, there are risks as far as the same surgical risks that you had with gastric bypass. And I think some people tend to forget how hard the gastric bypass was in the first place. So when they have the reverse, they're like, oh, I feel worse, or the pain's more severe. And that may be the case. But for the majority, I think it tends to be pretty much, what you went through the first time as far as that goes. The risks that come along with a reverse. So here's one myth right here. I've never ever, and I've been doing this 4 years since my reverse, heard of anybody ever dying from a reverse. I have heard of people dying that didn't have the reverse because they were scared of weight gain, or they were actually too scared of the reverse, and they passed away, which is really sad that they didn't give themselves a chance. So with the reversal surgery, I've never ever heard of anybody dying from a reverse. Um, but the main risk you have to look out for, which I was not aware of at the time of my reverse, is gastroparesis. Gastroparesis can be a nightmare in its own. You can have it mildly, you can have it severely. I was diagnosed with it a year out from mine. I wasn't aware of it. My bariatric did not tell me that, but I mean, I was his first reverse, so who knows if he even knew. But gastroparesis is basically delayed stomach emptying. Um, so your stomach has nerve damage when they cut the vagus nerve. And for me, it wasn't really a surprise since I had several stomach surgeries. And I was almost 7 years out. It tends to be the further out you are from reverse, the higher chance of getting gastroparesis. For some reason, the stomach doesn't like to start back up. And for some people, they just take medicine and it gets better. And for others, it never gets better. I've had 3 GES studies done, and ironically, I just had one done that came back completely normal. To me, it's kind of crazy because the last 2 were so bad. I was at moderate level, and then all of a sudden a year later, and I'm 4 years out, and the only answer I get is maybe it healed itself. I don't know how nerve damage does that. I still have all the symptoms, so who knows? Anyway, so really that's the main risk other than surgical risk. And the surgical risks are exactly the same as with any stomach surgery. So you have a risk of leaks, you have a risk of infection, you have a risk of cut or infection in the cuts. There are 2 ways the surgery is performed. It's either performed laparoscopic or open. For me, I wasn't sure until I woke up because of having all the stomach surgeries. I had a lot of scar tissue. So I was told there was a good chance I would be completely open. But I got really lucky and they were able to do it laparoscopically. The reason why I would suggest laparoscopically, just because you heal sooner, your downtime is a lot less, and a lot less risk of like those infections to the surgical sites and things like that. But if the only way they can do it is open, then they're going to do it open. So when you're looking for a doctor, it can be very hard because I know a lot of us patients, when we have complications, you go from doctor to doctor to try to get help when you know that you need something like a reverse. And so it can be really hard. There's, tons and tons of doctors that do gastric bypass, but not many that do reverses or that are willing to do reverse or are confident in themselves to do a reverse. So you really have to search for that. I do have a list of a few bariatrics on my website, on Facebook for the support group, so you can always look there. But yeah, they're far and few between. How many days in the hospital? So I guess it depends on the person. If you're having issues after the surgery, obviously you're going to stay in there longer than somebody that's not. I was told I would be there 3 days. I was there 24 hours, literally. I came out of my reverse and I had minimal pain. I was only on Toradol. I was up walking, I was eating, I was drinking, I was feeling amazing. My blood sugar levels were normal for the first time in months. And the next day I was given a UGI to make sure there was no leaks, and the doctor sent me out the door. Now, I think I should have probably been in at least 2 days, like I did with gastric bypass. So I ended up staying with a friend a night to because I had an 8-hour drive home, kind of rest a little bit more before the rest of our journey. So yeah, it depends. I've heard people being in there a week, up to a week. So nobody can really know, until you yourself experience it and go through it. What kind of diet after? Well, most bariatrics, they don't have a diet plan for a reverse. Like I said, they're still very, very rare, even though they are becoming more common. I think they're a lot more common than what's spoken about. But for me, my bariatric, yeah, he's a real hoot. He basically told me, well, I'm putting you back together. Go eat whatever you want. You're fine. You're put back together. I chose not to do that. I started off slowly. I went with liquids, and then pretty much right away noticed I was having an issue with keeping liquids down. So I kind of moved into the soft stage by the next week. Um, and then at the third week, I started doing like, soft meats, incorporating more. And by a month, I was completely eating almost everything except for like, you know, salads, raw things like that. But I was pretty much back to eating a normal, healthy diet. So, yeah, some will just tell you to do the same thing as before, but I would, you can go at your own pace and you're gonna figure out if it works for you or if it doesn't. Okay, so will insurance pay for it? Well, I had my reverse 4 years ago and there was no code for bariatric surgery, so mine was paid for 100%. But what my doctor did is he billed with two codes, one for a stomach surgery, one for intestinal surgery, and that's how mine got paid for. I have seen some people that have had to go in and appeal it through their insurance companies, and then the insurance company comes back and they usually approve it. So you may have to go that route. It just depends on how your doctor's office submits it. A big one for people that come and ask me questions is weight gain. People are so terrified to going back to gaining weight. I think some of this is due to society and surgeons. I mean, the surgeons are really, their goal is to make you skinny. And that surgery does a 80% job of doing that for most patients. So a lot of them do not want the defeat of you switching something and gaining weight back. For me, I was sicker years out after than I was before I actually had gastric bypass. So I was healthier as a fat person than I was as a skinny person. So yeah, some people gain weight back, but you need to look at it this way. Is the weight more important than your health? Because for me, it's not. I could go back to 262 pounds right now if I was not living with the complications caused by gastric bypass and had to go through everything I did, but you can't go back on the past. So for me, it's like I can understand why some people in their head, really are concerned. If it affects your health, then I would say, yeah. But a majority of people I see, if they stick to healthy diets and using the tools they were taught, like me, I'm on a very strict diet because I still have the bariatric hypoglycemia came back after a year. So I eat low carb, sugar free, high protein, and healthy fats. And I have maintained, I was very malnourished at 116. I got back to a healthy weight. I bounced between about 133, 138, 5 pounds here or there. So I bounce around a little bit, but I've never went past that number, which is actually better than the number that I stabilized out after gastric bypass. So for me, I haven't. There are people that have, but another thing you need to think about when you're thinking about a gastric bypass reverse is sometimes even the people that had gastric bypass years later, their tool stops working. They start eating everything, and unfortunately, I have met many people that have gained all their weight back that are going in for revisions because they've gained all their weight back. So, I mean, really, what it comes down to is life-saving. Is your life more important than the number on the scale? And that's just me being honest. A lot of people go in and have the gastric bypass reverse and they think that they're going to wake up and life is going to be normal again. So here it is. Your life is never going to be normal again. I just say it like it is. It is never going to be normal again. When you reroute your digestive tract, which we all did when we had gastric bypass, it's never normal again. They can put you back together as closely as possible as they can, but you will probably have some issues for the rest of your life. The surgery will probably be hard. As far as a couple years after, maybe even. It took me 4 years to get to where I can finally feel like I have my bariatric hypoglycemia under control and my gastroparesis under control. Not to say that I don't have bad days and I don't have lows, but I finally feel like what I'm left with, this is what I'm left with in my body. So a lot of people have the reverse, and then they wake up and they go through depression again because they're very upset that everything is not gone that exact minute. So give your body time. They say after a gastric bypass it's a year. Well, after reverse they say 2 to 3 years even. I've heard some people that are even further out that say that their body's taking them 5 years. So no, you're never going to be normal again. I'm sorry, but we're not. Um, you're not going to be normal again. And that's why support is important. That's why I made the support group for people to come. It's not to scare people, it's to let people know what can happen, and these complications from gastric bypass are very serious. So when you're looking into reverse, it's just good to make sure when you go and see the doctor that you have a list of questions for them. What about care years out? For me, I still go to doctors. Some people have a reverse and they just stop going to the doctor. Just like when you've had gastric bypass and they're like, oh, I got all my weight off. I'm good now. I'm never going to go to the doctors again. That's not really smart either. I go every 6 months and get my labs checked. Some people go yearly, not me. I'm not willing to take the chance to let my stuff slip. I'm very, very big on taking control of your health. So I go every 6 months. I get my labs checked. I go every 3 months. I go to Johns Hopkins for motility. I go to Johns Hopkins for endocrinology. I have a regular doctor on base here. So your health is a priority. And keeping on top of the numbers can save you from, just keeping track and paying attention from something, worse happening. So that's pretty much what I have for the questions that I get asked a lot. So my Facebook support group is Gastric Bypass Takedowns and Reverse Support. You can come over there if you're looking for support if you have complications from gastric bypass, or if you are in the process of getting a reverse or a takedown. I also have a blog, In the Life of My Frankenbelly, at wordpress.com. I only blog a couple times a year. I'd much rather vlog. I'm a much better talker than I am a writer. So, yeah, and I have these Frankenbelly videos. So that is pretty much all I have on that. I hope that you guys do your research and that you're not scared of something that could potentially save your life, because I know it saved mine. So keep fighting the good fight. Have a good one.